Are you feeling small? Are you feeling lame? Got no words at all to name your pain. Full of stress, your life's a flame. It's all a mess, going insane. And something's wrong in your domain. Don't know where you're going, where you came. You need a little something to help your brain. Are you shaking your head? It's all a shame. Do you sleep at night? Stay up late? You got a headache? Are you feeling drained? Everybody needs a little help someday. Hear me say it's time for Untamed. Are you feeling small?
Good evening. It's beautiful outside, but I hope that you're inside watching us right now or out in the sun watching us.
Yeah.
I'm Dee. I'm here with co-host Shalane.
Hey, guys.
And before we kick things off, of course, we want to say thank you to our sponsors. You saw the commercial already for Magic Mountain Minerals. I suggest you go on Chris's site. He has been busy mining and making some new stuff. There is a beautiful piece. He just put out a post. What is that again?
Australian opal?
Australian boulder opal? Is that what you called it?
Australian boulder opal. It's gorgeous.
Yes. Oh, yeah, it's beautiful. So definitely check that out. And then there were some Herkimer diamonds that he did the other day. I think I already threw that up there.
Yeah, and he wants to custom make things, too. So if you're interested, if you see any of the crystals that he has,
He's got a pile of loose stones that you can help, create anything that you want out of them. Perfect. So, yeah, more to come with him. We also have Alabaster and Ash. It's a metaphysical shop and many other things up in Remsen.
And we're going to go up there.
Yes, we are. Right? Yes, next week we're going to go up there, take a little tour, buy some stuff. Definitely, I've got like a long list of things that I want to get.
Yeah, I want to do a live and let everybody see the space, so they can see like how cool it is there.
Yeah.
And I mean, she's got a beautiful outdoor space, and we're going to talk about a lot of her events. So she has a lot of upcoming events. This month, next month.
What do we got?
I think there's something like every single day.
This Saturday's the yoga retreat.
Yes, and the children's.
That's
next
the
week.
10th.
Okay.
I'm signed up for that with Angelina. It's like crystals, oracle for the little ones, so that'll be fun. And then what else is there? Goddess Rising with Gina.
Yeah, that's on the 17th.
Rossi.
Yep, Gina Rossi. So it sounds like it's going to be some breath work, some chanting, some maybe some movement of some sort, and dancing. I think she said, plan on doing a little dancing stuff. So yeah, if you want to tap into your inner goddess, check out that event up at Alabaster.
And then there's plenty more, so make sure you're following their page. They're putting stuff up constantly, too.
Well, this Friday, she's got the open house.
Oh, yeah?
So Friday night, open house 10 to 4. That's on Saturday, actually, 6-3 open house. So it's for the strawberry full moon. And, yeah, there'll be, late refreshments up there and stuff, so just check it out.
Definitely. And then lastly, Renovation Aesthetics and Wellness. They do all sorts of facial treatments, laser, infusions. I'm in their VIP program. I just got a text the other day like, hey, do you want to come sit and model for us? We're going to do some new facials. You can pick your own out. So I was like, okay. I signed up for that, so that'll be fun. Hopefully I'll get some footage while I'm there. That's the 10th, so very exciting. Make sure you check out their page. They're always doing something. They're always creating little funny videos, so I love them.
All right, so let's introduce our guest for today. Sally Davidson is here with us today, and we're so excited to talk with her about breathwork today. I went to one of her events, and I already talked about it on the podcast a couple weeks ago, and we were really looking forward to having her here because she's got some events coming up, and maybe we could even go over some simple breath work that people could just do on a regular basis. I have lots of questions for you.
Oh, okay. Bring them on.
Yes.
So, do you want to just give us a brief overview of your background? And
Sure.
Yeah, okay.
Sure. So, I guess I would say that I started out my trade or my career was in nursing. So I retired 30 years ago, or I retired just after 30 years this year. I left my job full time last year. In administration, I was the director of nursing at MBHS and had been there for 30 full years. So with that, I had a lot of, after COVID, I had a lot of compassion fatigue and had some anxiety pop up and was pretty burnt out and really kind of started my own spiritual journey, I guess. We would say about 3 years ago. I had some anxiety pop up and different things, which I think a lot of people end up running into.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden you're like, oh, my life is really going good and everything's fine, and then boom, something is like, your body is like, yeah, I don't think so. There's some stuff that needs attention. And I kind of think that's what happened to me. So I started exploring a lot of different things. I have, I'm a board certified nurse coach. So I'm a nurse, but I have a board certification in coaching, life coaching, spiritual coaching. I do all kinds of different things. And I do a lot of meditation and yoga. And then I've been working with a woman out of California, and I do what she calls actually soul retrieval work. So we work with the vibrations in the body, releasing old trauma, do a lot of coaching around that. But what I was noticing, and as a lot of us, we love credentialing. We love to learn new things. And I was noticing with a lot of my clients and for myself that breath work was really coming up a lot, because a lot of people have trouble meditating. So I don't know if anyone has ever.
Oh, I do.
Yeah, so I can drop in fairly easy, but I know when I'm working with clients and we're talking about self-care and things like that, there's a lot of resistance around it. And so I would always teach some basic breath. And I think our mind is able to kind of hook to the breath easier than just be like, oh, I have to meditate, I have to be quiet, and I have to be still.
Right. I mean, that's what centers you into the present moment.
Right.
It's just reflecting on your breath. And it just really only takes a few minutes to center yourself with some maybe deep yogic breath, or just bringing your awareness, not even shifting your breath at all in any way, just bringing your awareness to it.
Back to your breath.
Yeah.
So I think that we find that easier. So I ended up deciding to leave work, and I ended up retiring, obviously a little bit early, and now I have my own business and I'm doing more holistic things. I'm taking care of myself differently, but that's always a struggle, I think, for all of us to learn how to resource ourselves properly and what's going to work for us. Just because something works for you and maybe that's not exactly what I need, we're all made up completely differently. So that's kind of how I ended up in this whole different realm. And I really feel strongly about we're in such a culture, a hustle culture.
Grind culture,
grind, hustle, and that's the only way people think they can be successful, and we lead a lot from the masculine.
Absolutely. Oh, I couldn't agree with you more.
And so that's how I was leading, even at work. I was leading a lot with this is how I was able to get through because of some of my old stuff. So you got to push forward, you got to push through, all masculine. And I've really been learning that, you really got to get in touch with that feminine part of yourself that can be just as successful.
Right.
To kind of.
There's a time and a place for anything. And it's really just tapping into when do I need to put my masculine self forward, and 100%. When do I need to lean back and just, receive and be open and flowing or whatever? Or when do I need to be action oriented? And, sometimes I'll use what astrology is going on, maybe what transits are happening in my personal chart in alignment with what is going on with, the collective and, things of that nature. So
yeah, absolutely. Because I think so many times we think, just because I was dealing with a client recently and, she's a young mom, so she's thinking that, well, my sister's a young mom too. Well, how come she's, she doesn't have any issues and she can sleep okay, but their makeups are so different. They're energetically made up differently. Their doshas are differently. One is, they're very different people.
Right.
And so they're not going to be the same. Where they were, how they were born, astrology-wise. There's so many things that make us up, and we all think we're supposed to be exactly the same and fit into a box. And that's probably how I lived my life for 55 years. I'm dating, just telling my age now. But then I was like, wow, I can't, I don't know, even who I am now.
Right.
So that's when I started to take a step back and started to investigate all these different things. And each time I find one other modality that I feel helps me, and then I like to bring it out.
Yeah, I absolutely love that approach about, that's really what the concept of this podcast is too. It's just putting it all out there and, letting people kind of pick and choose. But I love the concept of coaching because, it's just bringing into awareness, here are some possibilities, see what works for you. What can you latch on to, and it doesn't work, the same way for everybody. And we're constantly shifting and changing, In my early motherhood, I mean, I wasn't tuned into my body whatsoever. I was tuned into like everything that I was doing for my family, you know, and there is some sacredness to that as well. You know, if you can find that, leaning into that part of your life, right, when you're in early motherhood. But yeah, no, I can really relate to a lot of that. Everything you were saying about the masculine and feminine. I mean, Dina and I come from like a corporate background, and I really had to, if I wanted to be taken seriously, I had to present in that way for a long, long time. And I don't do that anymore. I basically sit home with a crystal in one hand, and I'm hanging out, and we're doing briefings online.
Pushover. You gotta, have this rough exterior at all times, and basically telling the army what to do. Right. It was rough.
Yeah,
it was intense.
And I think that we, even if that's how we were brought up.
Well, yeah, I mean, my dad's a great dad.
If we were brought up that way, that we had to, I was the youngest of 3, but in the end, because of a lot of things in my family, I ended up being the one that kind of had to step forward.
Right.
And then you just put all those barriers up, and you just armor up, and then, you really just move forward, because that's the way you have to survive, from old trauma, from whatever, even in the workplace, because we're not expected as to survive in those environments.
Right.
You have to lead from the more, or the thought was we had to lead from the more masculine, and now they're seeing that that's not really true to be successful and creative and have this more expansion.
Right.
It's good to have
definitely
balance.
Changed my management style in the last year or two, because that's what I was. I didn't want to kind of let my team stray or be flexible. But I noticed that the more that I kind of nurture them and allow them to grow within what they're doing in their way and not be this cookie cutter, this is the way it is, they're so much more appreciative, they're so much more productive, they're so much more happier. It's like the work-life balance is just such a better environment for them, I think. I don't know if they watch this. Maybe they're like, she's crazy.
She's not like that.
But no, I have a great team, and I think it's just because I changed my approach with them.
Yeah.
But they allow me to do that too.
Right.
So it's a give and take.
Like, how do you prepare for a meeting? Before, when I was in the office, I'd be jotting down notes. I had all these speaker notes. Everything was really refined. We were really rigid. We would go through the briefing over and over again. And now I literally prepare for a briefing in a completely different, in an energetic way.
Right.
Like, I trust my knowledge and where the thing is. I literally feel like a channel of even data analytics or whatever I'm doing. It just flows if I'm in that natural state, like depending on my audience or depending on the situation, like how to be adaptable.
100%. And I was kind of reflecting, because I was thinking about coming here tonight, and I was reflecting on a couple different things, and I was reflecting on my management style, because I definitely was known to be of a hard nose. But I also had, because I was thinking, did I lead more from that masculine or the feminine? Because I think I wax and wane, as most of us do. But now I've been really trying to just lead my life a little bit more from the feminine side.
100%.
Because I tend to still fall back into that, like, even preparing for this, like, I have to prepare and all this, and I'm like, what are you talking? Like, well, you don't have to prepare. You're just going to talk to them.
Yeah, exactly.
You're just going to go talk to them. But that's old programming, right?
It is.
That we have
Absolutely.
within us. Like, we have to have notes and prepare. And it's crazy, but that's all old programming. So you almost are like rewiring your brain, releasing some old trauma, and that's kind of what breathwork does and some of the other modalities that I work through.
It can be gentle, because especially for people just starting out, and maybe they don't even know that their trauma exists or where their trauma resides or even where it comes from, and to have a safe environment to kind of start to unpack that is just so crucial for, I think, the long-term success. Because if you're going through an awakening, or if you're going through like an aha moment, like things haven't, you're in a situation where you're not supposed to be, or something is off or wrong and has been for quite some time, and you're ready to make an adjustment, to have someone to lean on during those times,
Yeah, and I think you can, just like everything, there's, and even with breath work, there's like really extreme 3-hour breath works that are pretty intense.
Yeah.
And there's, more nurturing breath works. I don't think either is wrong. I think it depends on where you are, where your body's at, what it's kind of asking for and craving. Because sometimes you really need to like let all that, can we swear?
Yeah, you can swear.
All that shit out. Like, you gotta let it out. Oh yeah. Well, then you brought the right person in today. Yeah, you gotta like let that shit out. You gotta like let it come out. Most of the breath work we've done, I've done so far with people, because I want to create this new environment in the community of allowing people to see what this type of breath work is like. I've been pretty mellow and nurturing. Because I don't want to scare people right off the bat, because you kind of have to feel out where people are at. But yeah, most people, when I first started having my awakening or like my change in like, what am I doing with my life? It wasn't like I said, oh, I have trauma and I want to uncover it and I don't feel anything in my body. None of that verbiage even existed.
Yeah.
But when someone asked me like what I feel, I didn't feel anything.
Right.
Even though I was in a great relationship and everybody in my family was doing good, I had a great job, but I wasn't really feeling anything. And it took a while for you to even get there. Yeah, or like even to say like, how are you feeling in your body? I was like, what? I'm just pissed all the time.
That should be like the first thing you
Yeah, because
ask.
most people can't even connect with their bodies, and breath work definitely brings you back into your body.
Yeah.
And so I feel like you have to take people kind of slow if they haven't been doing that.
Yeah, but once you get into it, I mean, the power behind it is so, the alchemy available to using the breath to actually move energy in your body or finding it. I mean, it's like it knows. Like I feel it's not like something knows. That when I start to tap into my intuition, like that's when, my background is in Kundalini yoga, which breath work is very intense, long periods of time, holding postures, breath of fire all the time, which was rigid to me at times because it felt like I was really pushing myself. Now, did my Kundalini absolutely awaken? 100%, because, the mechanisms we were using, there was no way it couldn't really, but now in my longer term, using breath work and meditation, it's so much more gentle. It's really more what is it that I need right now, rather than like, okay, I'm opening up the instruction book and it's telling me that I need to hold this posture for 21 minutes and do breath of fire. If I want to engage with if I want this outcome based on a teacher, a guru, where I wanted, and then my guru fell from grace and right before COVID. And then I had to find my own guru within, and that 100%. Was the most probably enlightening thing that ever happened. Was like, I already have all this energy. I know what I need.
Yeah, it really is crazy when you start to uncover all of these like little miracles, like they're within us.
Yeah.
And so my husband will call it woo, and he's like, well, my wife, she used to be administrator, now she's like got a spirit animal and an altar in the house. Amen. And he's like, what is happening?
Does he breathe with you?
He hasn't really done breath work, but he lets me do Reiki. And actually the other day he came home and he said, I think I'd like to do some of that breath work stuff with you, and I need a Reiki. I need some Reiki. So I was laughing because he's very supportive.
That's great.
It had to come, it was slow. Yeah. It was slow because he didn't understand it all. Yeah. But yeah, the medicine is within us. And once we realize that, like, we hold the answers within us, we just sometimes need a little guide, but we want people to have, I'm a firm believer that we want people to have their own sovereignty over their body, their own, 100%. If I am guiding a breathwork journey, I want people to know that if they're just not feeling good, it isn't always about the push. Like, because I have been in breathwork sessions where you're pushed to the brink, and sometimes maybe that's what you want, but you got to make sure that that's like what's okay with your body, because maybe what you received today is really just what your body was looking for. And maybe that's, you pushed a little harder than the person next to you. The next person next to you might be like letting it all out, opening their throat chakra, and you might just be in this nurtured little bubble, and they're both perfectly okay.
Isn't that crazy that you can get the full spectrum though from something that we take for granted so often, that
Just
our
our
breathing
breath.
and our breath that keeps us alive. Literally the life force energy, like coming in and out of the body. I mean, directing it. I mean, it's an intimate practice for me now.
Yeah.
It has become, as a woman, and just learning like what feels good to me, on an energetic level, a physical level,
Right.
like things like that.
And even exploring it, right? Like what feels good to me, like listening to our body, what feels good, not just bypassing it.
Right.
Like, oh, this is the new thing, so we have to do it. And then you're bypassing like what you're actually feeling just to get to the end result of like, oh, I went through the session. Like I really don't want people that I'm facilitating, I want them to understand that it's okay if halfway through they go back to their normal breath.
Yeah.
Because they got a little like freaked out, or it just wasn't feeling good. They were feeling a little bit dizzy or whatever. Okay, just go back to the
It
breath.
can start to detox you depending on some of the things.
Oh,
I mean, that's part
100%.
of it that can make you start to feel nauseous or start
Oh,
to
yeah.
feel like literally like shaking in your body. I mean,
Yeah.
the shaking is actually a good thing. Like at first I thought, oh my gosh, like I went to teacher training and I'm holding a posture and I'm like shaking and they're like, no, like
Yeah.
that is moving energy in your body. Like your body is naturally doing that. Like let it go, like let it shake,
And when we're breathing, I mean, we're changing the composition within us. So yeah, you're gonna go, depending on how long you're breathing, you're gonna alter your level of consciousness a bit. But you still have the sovereignty to do that as long as you're with the right facilitator,
Right,
and you're not
100%.
with a guru that's, because there's good and bad everywhere, right? In
Yeah, absolutely.
spiritual world and in the regular
Definitely.
world, right? We all
Right.
have those people. So, always being trauma informed. When I did my training, it was trauma informed. So everything is about the client, the session, them being in charge of what's good for their body and teaching people, because it's interesting, because especially when you're in this like realm of people, you start to think everybody knows all this, but people don't.
Right.
And then you want to make sure that they're educated in a way that is really good for them,
Yeah.
and that we like share all these things about taking care of our nervous system, and how
my
instead
gosh,
of being so
totally.
reactive, we can do some of these modalities, work with a coach, do yoga, do breath work, Reiki, whatever it is, to really change our vibration and start to like release some of this old stuff. Because the problem sometimes that I see is like we do certain things, but you really have to get to the root of the issue, because otherwise the triggers and the problems keep coming back. So getting down to that root. But breathwork definitely releases stuff that our mind is not thinking about.
Right.
It releases stuff that's in muscle memory, in the cells. It's in our cells.
Right, from generations and
Oh, yeah.
generations. I mean, when I
Yes.
understood the concept of the fact that, like, I was literally like my cell that created me was in my grandmother, like, so the fact that now, like,
Right.
any generational trauma associated with her, and then also my mother, and
Absolutely.
then me, and then, also the 7-generation lineage, so when we start healing, we're healing, generations.
Oh.
It's not just what I'm doing for my personal growth and my personal
100%.
healing, but it's healing the people around me, the people that come in contact with me, the people that are in my family, that don't even realize,
Right,
that
right.
they're also receiving some of the benefit of the work
Right.
that we're doing.
Right.
And you want to share it with your relatives and make your kids aware of it from an early age, so they're not dealing with it at 40 years old or whatever too.
Yeah.
But it's like, how do you get them to listen, or do you get like the people that say, oh, I can't do that, that's not going to work for me,
Right, I can't meditate,
it's just
or-
not for me, I'm just going to be like this forever, there's no hope.
Yeah.
How do you even penetrate that?
I think the more that we do things like this,
Yeah.
the more that we put ourselves out there, even when people think we're like a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs or whatever they want to think,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right? The more that they think those things, it's okay, because the more we start to be comfortable. I remember the first time I came back from my Reiki training, and I did shamanic Reiki master, and when I found my spirit animal on my first shamanic journey, and I came home and I was like so excited. I think I told everybody at work, and I literally think they were all like, she has lost her freaking mind. Because if people are not into that, they are like, I don't even know what you're talking about. You did a shamanic journey. And then I told my husband I shapeshifted, and he was like, okay, now it's on. You're like in completely insane. But I was excited about it, and the more that I became comfortable in my own body with what I was doing and transitioning into a different kind of life, it didn't bother me as much if like he busted my chops a little or someone kind of like joked or whatever. I was less defensive about it because I see the benefits of living a different life. And I'm not saying everybody has to quit their job, but
well,
I mean,
it brings a neutrality to the table too, right? Like, I mean, with meditation, with higher consciousness, with elevated thought thinking comes this neutral space where I can accept anyone on whatever playing field that they're on. Do I do that every single time? Absolutely not. Am I sometimes judging? Absolutely. Am I finding polarities in my life because I want to validate my life so I find the opposite thing out in reality? Absolutely. All the time. We live in a dualistic world, right? We live in 3D reality. But at the same time, like once you start to, you know, I don't even know where I was going with that, but...
Yeah, I mean, but
how you feel solid, you know, like how you start to feel like more authentic, and the version of you that's coming out is like the real you.
I just get so used to talking to you like that, and Colleen, and all these people that when I talk to non-woos, like I'm still doing the same thing now because that's just how I am, and I'm just comfortable. Like this now, and if they're not, then that's not my issue. That's
right, exactly.
Theirs.
Right, it's really not even our business if it's not
they're afraid to know. Oh, maybe she's got a point. Maybe they don't want to take that step because it's work. Because it takes an effort,
and
because
I think
it's uncomfortable.
Right, it's uncomfortable, and I think it's interesting because. You know, we call it woo, and I joke about that too. But I mean, there's a lot of science behind our nervous system being reset, and you know, being connected to spirit versus, you know, you don't have to be religious. It doesn't have to be about like even what your religion. I mean, just believing that there's a higher power out there and connecting to that and neutrality. That I love that word because. When I'm talking to my clients, I talk about that space because I'm like, you know, we always want to go for the high, and the higher we go, then the lower we go. And so like we're in the ocean and we're like jumping over the waves, we're having a great time, we're out, we're having a great time, we're at the beach, or we're like struggling under the waves. But the neutrality to me is like we're just floating.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it doesn't have to be boring. It's just like that neutral place where nothing is too much or too little. And it's just all okay. And it doesn't matter who comes up to me, because I was a very reactive, maybe sometimes could be considered an angry person, like always feeling disrespected or put off, and that's been my work, because I have some shadow sides with that, and that's been my work. Like, now when I'm a little judgy, because I can still be judgy, I usually say to myself, because I'm not going to not be judgy. Like, the reality is I'm not a monk, you know, on the mountain meditating. We're living a human experience.
Exactly.
These things are going to come up. But now at least I'm self-aware that, hey, if this person is kind of like aggravating me a little bit, like what is actually going on here? Like what in them probably am I seeing that I still am not working on in myself that I'm not loving? And so I'm definitely more aware. And I do think the more that we do these things, the more that we make it more normalized, because it is better for our health. And coming from the healthcare world, like when I think back of like things that like we expect the nurse to do at the bedside, I mean, they aren't even able sometimes to do the basic day-to-day, like go to the bathroom and eat on a 12-hour shift. And like none of that makes sense to be healthy in the end. And so, and we're in healthcare. And so all of these autoimmune diseases and sicknesses and illnesses, like I'm a true believer now that all comes from all this trauma and disruption and stress and anxiety in our life that we weren't taught how to deal with. We weren't allowed to show our emotions, and that just bottles up. And like a river, if it gets dammed off, you know, the water gets stagnant. Well, I think it's probably the same in our body with our energy if we're not teaching. I mean, we should be doing this at a young age.
Hospitals will not advocate for this, though, because it will not be reimbursed by insurance. So
I know.
Unfortunately, that's the truth of it. Massage therapy, same thing. acupuncture just kind of getting in there now, but it's really sad because you could eliminate
So
so many pharmaceuticals, so much bullshit that they're just finding things to charge for.
Yeah, I'll try not to get on my soapbox about
And
that.
Yeah, I mean, I
know
know
I
that my
shouldn't either.
energy bar too. Like, I mean, we talk about our energy bar, right? Like, if you need to get charged back up. I mean, just to put it in like layman's terms. I mean, you can't just constantly be putting out and expect, I mean, eventually you will get sick, physically sick.
Yeah.
Or you will be, or the universe will give you something that puts you down for a bit until you're, so that you're not, and you have to tap into like, how do I need to like reassess? Like,
And
how
you-
do I,
Yeah, and you don't even know. Like, that's what happened to me. I mean, I had persevered through difficult childhood, through a move, through a first marriage, through like a lot of things, and was always able to like just push through. And then literally it was like I started having panic attacks after COVID, and just it was, I believe like it was really the universe like, okay, we're just not doing this anymore. I don't know what you're thinking, but we're not doing this anymore. And I was like, what is happening to me? But there was no rhyme or reason at that moment. It was really, I think, my body just being like, nope.
Yeah, I mean,
You
COVID
need to
wasn't-
make a change, and if you don't decide to make the change, we're going to make it for you.
Right. Yeah.
And I think I'm still like working through that stuff, around my health and stuff, because you don't have that much stress and anxiety for that many years. And then all of a sudden, poof, you start meditating and it goes away. I mean, it is a journey.
Right.
You have to self-realization and self-exploration and what works for you.
Yeah.
So
But it's consistency. Show up for it and just do it, and track your progress. You will see it.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my spiritual practice is always changing. Sometimes I am big in breath work, and other times I'm more into, nature or walking or earthing or whatever that is. And how do I, what are the things that I'm trying to pick up on? Am I more fiery right now? Am I high energy?
Right.
What do I need to physically exercise, like literally lifting weights or running or hiking? Is there something physical that I need to do to exert the physical, or is it the mental space that I need to kind of adjust?
Right. Right.
So, and it's such an amazing way to live your life, because really, I know when to put the brakes on now. Like, and I do it way before a catastrophe, and it's not when I'm like completely flipping out on everybody because I'm doing everything and I'm, nobody's helping me or anything like that. I mean, my house is an absolute mess right now.
Right.
But I got a lot going on. I'm making macrame. I'm kind of checking out some coins we got hanging around the house. I don't know. I mean, I literally just landscape my whole backyard, So,
Right.
But it's okay. Like, I wasn't able to live in a mess because my mother was like obsessed with a clean house.
Yeah.
I mean, literally to the point. Literally
Amen,
lines
sister, yeah.
on the floor of vacuuming.
Yeah, that's how we grew up. Yeah.
So, I brought that into my personal life. Like, I had to have everything perfectly clean. But you can bring meditation into your day to day, right? Like, I mean, if you're just being aware and you're just putting your consciousness on the dish that's going from your hand into the dishwasher. I mean, sometimes meditation
100%.
can be as easy as that, And if you bring divinity into your cooking, right? So you're at home. I mean, your energy is going into the food that you're putting on your family's table. I mean, I was so I would be so frustrated, another meal, another grocery order, another thing to do, another thing. But that is like the most important thing that I'm actually doing for my family, is providing them with nourishment and food and a good meal every night on the table. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now it's a little bit easier, They're fending for themselves tonight. They'll handle it. I have a couple teenage boys,
Right, because how many times, I mean, a lot of times I think overachievers, perfectionists, people pleasers, so we might be a little bit rough around the edges, some of us, with that perfectionism and overachieving, but then we tend to be people pleasers too. So we're trying to do all these things, and then what happens, right? We get crazy,
burnout,
and resentful, and then we go ballistic. Well, I would go crazy, and nobody helps, nobody does this, I do everything, and really it's not. I talk to people all the time, but until you can really recognize that, like, you're just putting that on yourself, like, you have to learn, like, maybe I can't go out for the whole day because I get really tired. And I never understood that, but I just don't think...
Being around people, being
yeah,
different
I
energy,
just didn't understand what that was. Like, to go to the state fair, I would be there for 4 hours and I would be like, I'd have a headache, I'd have this. And I'd be like, why am I so abnormal? Like, why can't I? But now I'm starting to understand, like, when I travel, if the time zone is really different, if that means I sleep through dinner until I recoup, then when I go on a trip, sometimes I sleep through dinner because I can't adjust. Before I would push myself, and now I'm like, nobody get offended, but because we're made differently.
Right. Do you feel like you can prepare for things like that now better too? Like if you know you're going into maybe a high intensity social situation, or you're going into something that where I need to maybe potentially be a little more laid back. Because I mean, I do have a lot of energy. Sometimes I can come off kind of fiery. So, do I need to like ease up in this situation, or what? What am I going to need? What is in my toolkit? And sometimes it's crystal in my pocket. That I'm holding on to, that I'm like feeling the energy of it while I'm dealing with a difficult situation. Is it a hand mudra? Certain mudras can calm me down, or pressure points like on your body while you're having a conversation with people. And we talked about
mudra. Oh, you didn't.
I did. I got a different. I didn't bring the mudra deck. I actually brought the Green Witch Oracle deck today.
I think and I think that's what's important, where people are starting to really connect to themselves, to their body, to their energy. Like learning, it sounds all woo, but really that's what it's about. Because what's going to resource me, what's going to make me feel good in a social situation is going to be different. For you. Like, it's going to be different. If I don't meditate every morning because I get lazy and I get up and have my coffee and then I'm like, oh, I start this, then I am kind of witchy. I'm like, I'm reactive. I can tell if I connect in the morning before I even get out of bed, and I'm consistent, because consistency is the key. Then I am so less reactive. But maybe that's for me. That doesn't mean that's for you. You might need to move your body more, because we're like two different beings. I'm pretty earthy and pretty fiery. But if my air gets, out of whack, then I'm like crazy. But most people don't even understand that. I use this example. My husband used to always he still does. He likes to come home and take a nap. It used to drive me insane. Like, I'm like, it's 5 o'clock. Why do you want to nap? And really, he has a lot of air. He has a lot of fire, but he has a lot of air. So like, that's his time to like go in and just reset, and then he can get back up and cook. Now, if I lay down with my earthy quality, like, I am done for the night.
Yeah, I mean, let's just talk about a nap.
And so just accepting, accepting, like, that's what your partner, like, that's what makes your partner what they need. And it might not be what I need. So starting to learn about each other and what each other needs and stuff like that.
And it doesn't have to be so complicated either.
No.
It could be a bath. It could be a nap. I mean, those types of things. Like, I never really napped, and I really feel like I'm more like astral traveling anyway when I'm napping now. I like to kind of get in that like space, like in between. And we'll get into that some other time. But it's just, it doesn't have to be real complicated. No. And the good thing is that with this networking stuff that we're doing, by having all these various events around the area, you don't have to be an expert. You don't have to read subtle energy textbook. You don't need to know where all the meridians are or what the pressure points are. There's an expert in this area. I mean, there are people of all types, healers, energy workers, yoga teachers. I mean, there's just so much metaphysical juice here in the area available to you right here. You don't have to fly to Costa Rica. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I mean, that's obviously a wonderful thing to do. But you have it right here if you're curious and you want to get kickstarted,
Right.
Because you've been overseas, right? Or you've been to South America?
Yeah, I went to Peru last year.
You went to Peru. Dina's been to Costa Rica. I'm planning my Costa Rica trip right now, so you can go to Costa Rica.
Yours is a family trip.
Well, it's a family trip, but okay.
Yeah, I think exploring and just even exploring the culture in these places, like where I went to Peru in the Sacred Valley. I mean, there's so much energy and so many teachings. And yes, I partook in plant medicine for the first time. And that was a personal choice. I don't think everybody has to do that. I think that there are certain things that are a calling, and really, I truly believe that. It's a calling, like, you'll know if you want to do it. You may never do it, and I don't think some people probably ever have to do it, and that's perfectly fine, and some shouldn't.
Yeah.
You have to be in the right, like, energetic space, I think, for any of that. But I don't think it has to be complicated. Everybody doesn't have to do like a 3-hour breathwork session all the time, or have a soul retrieval, or have a coach. But other people may need a guide to just help them along in their journey. I surely did, and still do. I mean, I still work with different people, and because for me, accountability helps me, and like guiding and just keeping me like on track is very helpful for me. And I've kind of surrendered to that, and I enjoy it. And so instead of spending my money on a coach bag, I would rather do something around my self-empowerment and my self-discovery, because I think for the long game, that's like what I want to, how I want to kind of settle into my later years, my crone years, I said the other day. I'm starting to settle into that as a healer.
And that's such a beautiful gift, because I mean, I think it's like you're just, how I am embodying my physical body now as like a maturing woman, you know, past, I mean, I'm still fertile, you know, but I'm not giving birth, you know, I'm still mothering. So I'm still, you know, in that phase of my life, but I'm excited to continue to age in a strange way. I mean, the absolute wisdom like that is activating in my body over time through experience and through the breath work, through the meditation, through the, you know, all of these energetic mechanisms and, you know, modalities. I don't fear aging. I mean, I'm really almost getting to the point where, like, you know, death is not something that is on my radar as like a fear, you know, it's a transition. It's something that I know is coming, you know, it doesn't, you know, so I don't know. It's just an interesting, like, you know, opportunity for women, I think, right now.
Right.
Too.
And what a blessing. Like, you know, I haven't really thought a lot about death, but what a blessing, I guess, though, to have like what we have and the knowledge we already have. Even when my dog just passed away recently, like I did Reiki, like as we were taking her to the vet to transition, and she's so calmed down. Like she calmed, and she was like so serene, and like we have a lot of options if it is time to transition, that instead of just being in the hospital and having medication, and like there are other options. And so like opening our minds to that, and I'm just asking people to like be curious, like get curious. That's a great question. Like instead of being so rigid as we were, I was very rigid. And now being curious, like, that's interesting. Like, what is she doing? Like, what is that? Like, is that something that will work for me?
It's cool to use curiosity when things come at you too, right? So like when an obstacle, some uncomfortable situation comes at you, can you engage in that with curiosity, with like openness, open awareness of like, okay, there's this thing coming into my reality and it doesn't feel good, it's uncomfortable, it's something difficult, you know, is that me making it difficult? Is it society making it difficult? Is it these old familial you know, like thoughts that's making it hard? Like, and then it's deciphering like what's true for me after everything is taken away, like, all the societal norms and, you know, what my upbringing was and all of those things. And not saying that's not important to me. You know, those things are important to me. You know, society, certain things in society, certain things in my family, you know, that I will always keep with me. But at the same time, it's just like deciphering, like, what's true for me, the discernment, right? Like having that ability to discern.
Yeah.
So you have a couple upcoming events. We're like already closing out on an hour, and I feel like I could talk to you forever. So
I know, I feel like it went so quick.
It goes so fast. So you have two upcoming events. So tell me about the one at Roots that's coming up.
Breathwork. So on, I had to look at my little notes too. Right? The 23rd, June 23rd, Friday night, I'm having a breathwork journey, but it's actually going to be, I called it connection. It's like what I would call relational breath. So it's going to be a little different than what we've done before. We're not going to do the whole meditative journey because I invited in couples. It can be mother-daughter, it can be friends that really I want to work, like deepen their connection with each other. And we're going to do some exercises in the beginning where we're going to breathe together. We're going to do some eye gazing, which, you know, everybody always loves a little eye gazing with complete. Well, most people are like
that's
so
how
uncomfortable.
You do the tantra, the yoga. Yeah, it's eye gazing. It's really intense.
Yeah, some, you know, holding on to each other, holding their hearts. And I really was thinking about this because really it's all about connection, right? Like a deeper connection, whether it's with our partner, with our kid, with a good friend. I mean, it's about deep connection. And sometimes we're always like so put off, like, oh, that's kind of weird. But really, like, what feels better than having connection? Everybody wants to have connection, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, societally we're so separated, and like in the old days, whenever, like, they lived in tribes, they lived in community, and so they had like that connection. So when you had a baby, everybody was helping out, right? It was community, and we don't really necessarily. That's not how it's set up now, and I think we need to like get back to that connection.
I think we're shifting out of that. I'm seeing it a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what we're going to be doing at Roots. So it'll be the first time I'm doing something like that. So I'm experimenting.
I sent it to my husband today, so I was like, "Let's go." He comes to. He's going. He'll go to Dina's.
Yeah,
he's been to,
he
does stuff with me. It's such an awesome opportunity if you are in a relationship, to invite your significant other into these like events and things. I mean, it really does just like put you in a completely different like situation.
Right. And so it was interesting because the last event I did there, we did it on Mother's Day, and there were a couple mothers and daughters, and the one mother was talking about like almost being able to feel the heartbeat of her daughter, and we weren't even doing we were just breathing in a regular.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
So it was just
almost made me cry.
It was so beautiful. And so then I was like, I had kind of been thinking about this idea. So we won't go as deep with the actual breath work because on time wise. But we'll do a little bit of a journey, and we'll do these other breathing exercises with each other to try to connect on a deeper level. So it'll be my first time trying that, so I'm super excited about it.
Awesome. And then In Bloom is also...
And In Bloom, we're going to do the week before, I think it's the 16th, the Friday night, I'm going to do a journey to your heart, so talking about heart connection. And when we do the journeys, I like to call them, we talk a little bit first. You guys have been there. There's time at the end to share. I've kind of extended out the time to like 90 minutes because there's time a little bit for journaling. I think there needs to be integration when you're doing things like this. You don't have to share. Don't not come because you don't want to share. Nobody has to do anything they don't want to. I've been infusing a little bit of Reiki, a little bit of aromatherapy in my sessions, just to kind of give the full effect. So yeah.
Well, I can speak firsthand to, experiencing one of your classes. I mean, I had one of the best experiences that I've had in a really long time.
Oh, that's really nice.
It was beautiful, and it felt seriously like processing plant medicine. It was a very similar situation, for me, and I would recommend it to anybody. So I hope to get to your couples class for sure.
Yeah. I think with breathwork, we can go like as deep or as we're doing these group things. I'm just going to be launching a virtual, because I do some virtual work too, a virtual group program that I'm going to be launching in the next few weeks.
Awesome.
Virtual is, it's different. I do a lot of virtual work. So virtual can be great. In person is always amazing. But there is some kind of like connection when you're being invited into people's houses. A lot of times their bedroom, and you're breathing. And I think there's a lot to be said about. My group is going to be, really around sisterhood and community for women, and so there'll be some coaching and weekly breath work, and for people that are, maybe not feeling weird about coming to a class and things like that. I think that's one thing that COVID brought was all this virtual teaching that I've been able to do so much learning.
Great. I mean, I have a little one, so it's hard for me to leave the house sometimes, or
Yeah.
I've connected with some amazing women and healers and guides that are not local to me whatsoever. I mean, I've had very intimate experiences with people virtually.
Yeah, me too.
As well. So is there anything else you wanted to mention about, what your offerings are?
So I'll be offering, some of my stuff is not on now. I'm just revamping some of my offers, but I'm going to be offering one-on-one to work with people, because some people don't, maybe feel weird about coming to, wherever, a yoga studio, or maybe they want to work on some deeper stuff, so they want to do one-on-one. So I'm going to have some one-on-one offerings. I also am offering half-hour sessions, which are called integrative, so they're a little bit shorter. I like to call them like lunchtime. Like, those are great things that I'm hoping to promote for people virtually, that really you can do on your lunch. Like, you can create those appointments on your lunch.
And like corporate lunch.
Yeah, because you're just really doing a conscious breath for like less than 8 minutes. You're doing a little guided meditation. You're taking someone into their body for a short time with breath, and then you're bringing them out. They're sitting in a chair. They're not laying down, and like total reset of your nervous system, move on with your day. So I'm going to start talking more about that, different than the journey of an hour.
Do you bring your, have you done any corporate?
I haven't done any corporate stuff yet, yeah. Just kind of starting to settle in. And then I'll be launching, I do a lot of work with soul retrieval, which is a healing modality. Really, I guess it would be similar to inner child work, but it's really more about getting into the vibration of what the old trauma was and connecting with that vibration and then bringing that vibration back up. So I'm going to be launching a virtual program around that, where we do rewiring, we bring people back into their heart, forgiveness, a lot of Ho'oponopono, forgiveness, all those things. We introduce something new every week, and then we do these one-on-one healing sessions. I've just finished up working with a woman out of California for the last year. I've been doing this healing mentorship. And I kind of was like fighting that, like being in my head all the time. And when I'm doing like breath work or my healing sessions, that's why I kind of said like I'm starting to like accept that like I'm in this stage of my life and like starting to accept this healing and modality of like, this is what I want to do, because I'm really in my heart and my root when I'm doing that work. And I think I just gotta settle out. So yeah, a lot of things coming up.
It's gonna make you feel.
Yeah.
You're gonna get more rewards than what everyone's getting from you.
Well, I mean, you can constantly reinvent yourself. I mean, our imagination creates our reality. So I mean, if you want to try something new, like go give it a try. Like I don't know, it's basically, it's all available.
Constantly doing new stuff.
Okay, so we have your website and your Instagram on the podcast, right, Z? Underneath, it will be linked, Sally's stuff? Okay, so you don't have to tell us what it is. We'll make sure everybody gets all of the information, so if you can make it to one of Sally's classes, that would be awesome. We have a couple other events I just wanted to touch on. Tomorrow night, Dina and I will be at the Uptown. We're super excited to be doing like a pre-show kind of pre-party at the Uptown. We're going to go live with some oracle cards, tarot cards. We'll be smudging people if you want to come in. We'll clear your energy. Just asking for maybe a donation that we can hand over to the Uptown. We're also selling our brand new hot off the press little t-shirts, these little crops that are awesome for summer. We have size extra small to extra large. If you need a different size than that, just let us know. We could probably order it for you. Yeah, they're perfect for summer. These are so adorable. I think I might wear it.
That's like the best one because I bought a bunch of tanks for my work, and I like that better.
So they're $20. We're trying to figure out like what's next for us. We have one more episode is coming up next Thursday. That is our last June episode that we are actually committed to. So we will let you know what is going to change, how things are going to transition in the next couple weeks into July. But let me just talk about quickly the energy, the astrology. So full moon in Sag is Saturday, right? The 4th, 5th, depending, or 3rd, 4th?
Like 11:42 p.m. Saturday.
Okay, so tell them about your event and a little bit about the moon.
My event is going to be Sunday at 6 at Roots. I don't like to give away exactly what's happening, but
the Archer.
I'm Sag, so I'm excited. Yes, it's fire energy, and it's all about go after what you want. Shoot for the moon.
Right.
At this point, we have this moon's energy. Jupiter's conjunct the North Node in Taurus
today
during this whole
it's today,
thing,
and that's big.
Which is your planet of expansion, which is North Node is where we're going. The collective is going someplace we've never been before. Expansive, Taurus, embodiment, luxury, everything you want. So big. It's going to be solar plexus activating, manifesting. Like I said, I'm not giving everything away, but we still have room.
Well, I'll be there.
And Shalane will be there.
With my special guest, my husband will be there as well.
Jefferson Rank is coming.
Yes, he is. So we're going to get full moon saggy.
Yeah, but it'll be great.
Spicy.
We've got a meditation. We've got a fun activity after, like a ritual. So super excited for that.
So what else do we have at Roots? Let's just go. Okay, so we talked. Okay, so Kelly Marafa is doing a mindful meditation and breathwork on 6/16. On 6/18, the new moon yin is happening, and that's actually happening every month now. 6/19 is the Sound Journey
Yes.
with Victoria. She's doing that as part of the New Moon kind of collab.
Those are
thing.
amazing too.
Yeah, and then there's the Oracle Workshop on 6/30, Cacao on 7/9. So if you
And
don't
then my
have-
stuff,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
7/22 with
Yeah.
our guest next week, Brandy Crystal Furness from the Body Oracle out in Bergen. Of like full day worth of stuff you can sign up for, Love and Intimacy workshop, and then we're doing cacao and rapé ceremony afterwards. So you can do one, the other, both, and there's a little discount if you come like as with your partner, with your spouse, friend, however you want to do
And
it.
they can sign up for that now, right? It's
I
ready to go?
believe it's up
Okay,
there.
cool.
If not, then stay tuned. It should be up
Yeah,
there.
well, we're
any
going to
day.
talk quite a bit about it, and I'm
But-
sure you should go live and maybe talk in more detail in the group,
Yeah,
too.
but we're going to have Brandy on next week, so
Yeah,
we're
that'll
super
be great. Oh, yeah,
excited.
we'll talk about it a
And
lot
she
next
has
week.
so many cool things that she offers. Her story is, like, wow. So I'm super excited that she can share that with us.
So one more thing I wanted to mention about Alabaster and Ash. So Venus is moving into Leo on the 5th of June. Now, it's a little different because Venus will go retrograde in Leo, which is a fire sign. So it is like legitimately hot girl summer. I'm not even kidding. I know that's like super cliche, but it's real. And my Mars is already in Leo, so I'm going to be completely activated and probably just out by my pool all summer. But there is an event at Alabaster and Ash on 7/22 during the Venus retrograde. So it's retrograde. It's in Venus. Our Venus is in Leo until 10/10, which is way longer than it usually is. So from June until October, Leo, Venus, fire, love, passion, energy, creativity, like let's get it on, basically. But the Soul Oracle is having a workshop for $111. Soul, and it's from 10 to 3. So that's specifically about the Venus retrograde. Isn't that cool? I love
That's
that.
fun.
Yeah.
Soul reflection?
Soul
Is it Nadine?
reflection, yes. Yep, Nadine.
Oh, she's great.
Yeah, she is
She's
great.
doing the kids one too.
Yeah,
I'm
so I've
excited to
had
see
one of her.
again.
I've done her Galactic
Yeah, I was there.
Heritage. Yes, that was awesome. I loved it. So yeah, definitely check that out. So we'll
Are
definitely
you
talk
coming
more
to
about
the
that.
stuff, Sally?
Yeah.
Yeah,
all of it.
Yeah. I definitely want to come to Brandy's. I think I'm coming Sunday. I just haven't signed up yet.
Oh, good.
'Cause I leave for Hawaii at 5:30 on.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot out there, right? And you
Yeah.
have to pick and choose, unfortunately.
Yeah,
right?
you
There's
can't
certain
do it
kinds of
all.
things. You can't do it all.
My
But there's something
calendar's
for
like-
everybody.
My calendar's
Oh
like
yeah, there's
stop.
something for everybody, which is so
Yeah,
exciting.
definitely. Just get out there when you can, and you're going to meet so many great people and be a part of this community, which is the ultimate goal of pretty much everybody involved. So,
All right, well, let me make my mojito since we should have done it in the
Yes, our
beginning.
drink of
So
the-
this is
our
the
drink of the
seedlet.
day.
Phil got this for me for Mother's Day, I think.
I think so.
This is the garden one, and it's actually herbal. It's like has hops in it, hay. I'm not even gonna make it, but I'll just go over everything with you. It's super refreshing. So I know a lot of people that don't drink alcohol, prefer not to have an alcoholic beverage. This is alcohol free. I think there's actually 0.5% alcohol, but once it's diluted, it's trace amounts. So if you drink this straight, there is a slight amount of alcohol in it. Nothing that would be concerning. But if you are trying to avoid alcohol, all alcohol, no matter what, there is trace amounts in this. But anyway, this is this is what you would put in there, but other than the rum, right? Is rum mojito? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
So-
I haven't had one in a really long time, a real one. And then you make some simple syrup, right? That's just 1 cup of sugar, 1 cup of water. You boil it on the stove for a little bit. This will stay good at room temperature for a while. Some club soda. You need some lime that I cut up. I'm not a bartender, but I think I could be. And then some mint. So mint is like abundant, right? I mean, if
Yeah.
you have mint at your house and you got a shit ton of it. So this is amazing. So you don't even have to muddle it. You just stick it in here. 2 ounces of this, a half ounce of the simple syrup, and then you do 3/4 ounce of lime. But all I did was just squirt a couple in there, and with some ice and some mint and all of that stuff, and you shake it up over ice. Little club soda, boom, you got a drink. So how do you guys like it?
oh, it's
Yeah,
good.
it was really good.
Was it good?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. All right, so yeah, I mean that's Sally. Any final words? Anything that you might have not said that you would like to?
No, I think as you're talking about the community, like I was kind of shut in my house for the last year after I left work and was doing a lot of virtual stuff, which is great, but I started to think like, what am I missing? And I was missing community.
Yeah.
And so I started to infiltrate, and I reached out to Colleen and Martha in Bloom in different places, and you know, I've been so welcomed, and it's felt so good to like create community, because I think community is so huge. And so I like love what you guys are doing.
Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
we're
love
glad
it.
to have
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
definitely have you back on, you know, as you proceed in your journey, and we can
Yeah.
proceed in our journey as podcasters, apparently.
Yeah, yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah.
I love it. I've had a secret thought about doing my own podcast.
Well, now
yeah,
you
I
know
was so
you like
super
it.
excited to
You have
come.
your man right here, too.
So I was super excited to come, and
Awesome.
yeah, but super welcoming. So if people are like wondering like what they want to do, like just reach
Give it a
out
try.
and give it
Yeah.
a try. You just never know.
Right, you never
Come
do
to the
know.
full moon event and your craziest, wildest dreams for yourself. You can
Yeah.
shoot them out there.
Awesome. With the arrow,
That's
yeah.
what I'm
Yeah.
doing.
And if you have any questions about breath work or the soul retrieval or anything I'm doing, just send me an email, a DM, and it's great.
All right, well, one last thank you to all of our sponsors, Alabaster and Ash, Renovatio, and the Diamond
Magic Mountain Minerals.
Magic Mountain Minerals. I got to get one of those. Yeah, I really do. So anyway, thank you very much. Thank you to Z and the Disruption Network for having us on this network. And again, thank you, Sally, for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much for having
All
me.
right, we'll see you guys next time, next week.
Bye.